Hello everyone, this is Azia Boston from Boston Desi Connection with cameraman Dr. Sohaib Siddiqui. We are very happy to have Somnath Mukherjee right here with us, and he is doing tremendous job for the Indians from Boston. So he is a part of AD and helping in many ways. And let's see what he is doing from Boston to Indians. Welcome at BDC.
Thank you, Rajaji.
Let me know about you first.
Yeah, my name is Somnath, and I am trained as an electrical engineer, and I have worked here for many years, and then I became involved with an organization called Association for India's Development, AID. And in volunteering with them, I came into contact with many bright people working at the grassroots in India, which inspired me to become more involved in the grassroots development work. And I started spending more and more time at the grassroots in India, in the villages, in the slums, where there are people who are not as fortunate as many of us, or are underprivileged, or are have survived injustices. So as I started getting closer to them and started to look at the world through their eyes, it opened up a whole new world for me. And eventually in 2007 I stopped working as in one of the corporate companies and started putting all my time towards this kind of work.
Oh, that's wonderful, and that's a big thing. So you quit job and you joined AID for
Yes.
To work or serve for the community in
Yes.
India back. As you said, AID is doing a work as a grassroots in India. Can you give me some example what you are doing right now?
Yeah, so the way we work is we identify very good grassroots organizations who are working very closely with the people. Let's say with farming communities where there is no healthcare, there are socially motivated doctors who work to take healthcare to the remotest corners of India. There are very good groups that work on women empowerment, where women have become they survive tremendous violence even today in our country. There is child marriage, and I mean India as a country has made many progresses, but there are many holes, many gaps that we need to constantly work on to become a better society, a better country, a better humanity. So there are many important things like that, and one example that is close to my heart, and I spend several weeks every year in those villages, is in Sundarbans, as you know, in the delta region of Sundarbans, where we had started working in 2009 after a cyclone had devastated it, and it left salt on because the water comes from Bay of Bengal, it leaves salt on the soil and you cannot do farming. And people there are completely dependent on farming. And so when we started working, there were 25 farmers who stood up and said, we want to take up sustainable agriculture. That is doing agriculture without using any external chemicals, organic basically. And we had a wonderful farmer friend from Tamil Nadu, Revati, who will be coming here next month to Boston. So she came all the way to Sundarbans and trained those 25 farmers to do take up these farming methods. And then from next year onwards, these farmers themselves took upon themselves to train other farmers. Really? So over the years it grew, significantly. And today, starting from 25, today we have about 20,000 farmers who have taken up these methods and are teaching these methods to others. So there is a large community of farmers in Sundarbans who are doing organic agriculture. This year we started setting up methods and logistics so that they can sell their own produce in the city and get a fair price. So this is one small example of what aid does.
So what is the medium of connection? Because you are sitting right here in Boston, they are in different places in India. So how you connect with the people, right people over there?
Yeah. So, AID had started way back in 91, in Maryland, and chapters were formed across US. But a few years after that, several volunteers who said that we are going to take this as our mission in life, many people went back to India and they settled in the grassroots, doing work at the grassroots on education, on health, on women's empowerment, and many things. And remaining there, they started connecting to good groups. And slowly it grew. So this is the 25th year of aid, and I also spend about 2 to 3 months every year in India. And when I am there, most of my time I am traveling through the villages, trying to get in touch with good groups, spending a few days there, understanding their work. So that has been the method. So a lot of our energy goes in identifying these good groups.
Exactly, that's more important, because everybody wants to fame and everything.
Right.
But the people who are really work for the community, or they are serving for the community, it's really hard to find them.
Right.
But I think AID is a lucky organization who is finding the correct people in India.
Yes.
And now you have BDC. We can make too much noise in India if you want.
Thank you for that help.
Of course. So, and tell me about a little bit, how do you funded these things? Because without money you cannot.
Yes.
It's really, I think this is the basic thing. You have to figure out how to get that.
Yes, definitely. So in the US, we are organized in about 35-36 chapters across the US, where volunteers come together, and all these projects come from the grassroots groups. And then chapters take up these projects. They really get into it, try to understand every single detail. So, I mean, one of the fundamental philosophy that we try to keep is that it is not a hierarchical relationship between a village in India and a city in the US. It is a relationship of equality. So it is also our privilege that we are getting a chance to work with the people in a village in India, because they bring different kind of strengths that we do not have. So the volunteers work in that spirit of solidarity. So they look at the project, they go deeper into it. There are many questions that don't understand. They will make a phone call to the people in the village or in the slum, wherever, So now that mobile coverage in India is pretty good.
Easy,
So almost every village is, more or less connected on mobile phone. So they will, talk and understand the project, and then they will around it, and every project is visited by 8 volunteers.
Oh, okay.
So there is always a direct connection to the people of India where we are working. And then around those projects, we will go out and seek support from the community. And our major source of funding are community people, who, a lot of them are from Indian origin, a lot of them are from American origin or other countries. But when we present the projects in a sincere, transparent and honest way, we get support from the community. And volunteers themselves also do events like, we have concerts, we have some shows, volunteers run marathons, and we have a very good running program in Boston right here, where about 35 runners run every year to raise money for these kind of projects. So that's our main way of raising money.
So this is in Boston or in USA?
Yes.
Right, the way. And do you get the money or financial aid from Indian citizen, or if from India?
Yes.
Many kind?
Yes, definitely. But people in India will donate directly to the organization that we are working with there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it doesn't need to come to aid.
Okay.
So here in the US, aid is a registered organization with the IRS, with 501c3 and all those things are there. So in the US, people donate to aid. And in India, they will donate directly to the organization. Yeah.
Wonderful. I mean, this is India really need it on a very grassroots level, or especially for the people who are underprivileged. And when you go to the town, or volunteers of AID go to the town and see that there is so many crafts they are making in towns and the villagers, and the people, they are very good artisan.
Yes.
So do you have, or think we sell that crafts here or in India, and then the money whatever comes from that sale, they will go to furnish their life?
Yes.
So do you do this kind of thing, or you have plan of?
We do a little bit of it.
Okay. It can be a good source.
Yes, I mean there is a lot of logistics involved, and then competition and all that. So we do a small part of it. We have a lot of clothing like this called Jivika, which are made by weavers in India, and where we know that they are getting a fair wage, so they are not being exploited.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the cotton is growing organically, and that kind of. So we do have a lot of efforts like that, or small weavers, small artisans who are fighting for survival. So definitely we do work with them for.
That's wonderful. I didn't know much about AID, but now I know many things. And you said you are also working for the women empowerment.
Yes.
So tell me about how you are doing in India for that.
So I mean, as we know, gender disparity is still pretty large in India. And
very visible actually.
Yes, very visible, and the society is becoming more vocal about it. We have seen what happened a few years ago in Delhi, and so there is a lot of gender-based violence. So we work with different groups who raise awareness not only amongst women but also amongst men, that violence against women is not just a women's issue, it's actually the whole society's. It's men's responsibility, it's everyone's responsibility. Otherwise we will never, no matter how large the GDP of India is, when this kind of disparity continues to have to be there in our country, we cannot progress really in a social and ethical sense. So some of the key things are not supporting violence against women, but when there is violence, there has to be a way out. How does a woman who is either is facing sexual abuse or is domestic violence, where does she go? So there has to be some kind of shelter, some kind of short stay, some kind of psychological counseling, some kind of access to justice. So we work with, I will give you one example, one woman called Tara Aluwalia in Rajasthan, who's been doing phenomenal work. She, for decades, she has been using her home as a shelter.
Wow.
For women who are victims of witch hunting, and she was one of the person who lobbied or advocated for an act against witch hunting, because witch hunting becomes a way of
21st century,
exactly,
and it's still a witch hunting.
But there is an economic sub layer to it, where by making a woman to be a witch, you can grab her property. And she is inspiration beyond measure. She works in Bhilwara district in Rajasthan. There are other all across India. There are groups, and so that is one thing. Then women's education, although opportunities might seem like they are the same, but it is not. It is much harder for a girl child to go to. Parents will say, okay, we cannot let her go to that school that is 2 kilometers away, it is dangerous, but the son can go. So we work in Gujarat with a group who makes that equality, like how can we make it easier for the girl child to be. So education is another, and the third most more important thing is an independent livelihood. because women don't have access to independent livelihood, their voice is never important in a family or in a community. So we work with many women's group who are making sure that women have an independent livelihood. They know about their rights, they know about how to access justice in case of an injustice. So in West Bengal, in Rajasthan, in northern India, in southern India, many places we work with such groups, and even in other work we try to ensure that there are women leaders.
Right, that's more important. Than they make understand better than the other gender.
Right, right. So that is how we try to work with. And just one small addendum is, we also have realized in working with the people that it is not only women's, there is tremendous injustice against people of other gender who are not counted within man or woman.
Exactly. This will be my another question, because India has a long history of civilization, different civilizations, and this kind of genders exist since then.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's not a new thing, but now people are able to talk about that.
Yes.
Say, I want this, I want that.
Right.
And I think this is better, instead of suffering emotionally, instead of suffering, in many ways in the community. So, what are you doing over there?
So we work with specifically two communities, or transgender communities, and in working with them, we see they have tremendous issues they face in society. I have went and spent time with the transgender community, and when you go out, you are walking on the street, the kind of ridicule, the kind of aggression you face, there is no public space for them, and no citizen in India, regardless of anything, of caste, of class, of gender, should be subject to such aggressive behavior. And they have issues with employment. No one wants to give them jobs. They have issues with health care. There is very high prevalence of HIV but they are afraid to go to hospitals, and there are many issues around. So we are working on those issues with the community, raising awareness of it's normal to be whatever gender, and regardless of gender we should have access to health care, we should have access to education. And now you are seeing there is a transgender bill that has passed in India. There are some shortcomings in that, but at least it has come out.
Yeah, it is starting right.
So it's a very important area to work with.
So you know better than me. You going many places in India and work with the community directly. There is one big thing which I am seeing, and I am worried too, and I always keep thinking about the Dalits. They have several issues. So AID is doing something for them too? Yes,
we work with Dalit communities also, and we see how we see and we learn how many injustices there are, social injustice, economic injustice, political injustice, they are, you have to fight. And the first thing, is very simple, the simplest thing to understand is caste-based occupation.
Right.
So it is only the Dalit people who are by society forced to, clean the gutters.
Right.
Get into dirty places, clean up carcasses of cows and dead animals. So it is only not that it's a bad job or a good job, but when only a certain section of people are forced to work in those conditions, then that becomes injustice.
And you are not going to touch them.
Right.
Why?
Exactly.
I mean, this is the big question.
Yeah. And so, you know, some concrete things we have been working with groups in Karnataka and all, that all Safai Karmacharis should have proper, you know, attire to work. You have to have gloves, you have to have helmet, you have to have gumboots. When you cannot have a human being go into the gutter. You know, hundreds of people today still die in India of asphyxiation when they get into the gutter. And even the Supreme Court has passed the law that manual scavenging is illegal in India, but manual scavenging still goes on. We have worked in Uttar Pradesh where there are many manual scavengers, and I mean, you all know about the history of manual scavenging in India, about Vindeshwar Pathak starting the Sulabh movement and all. Basically, these are women with no tools, nothing. You know, picking up fishes of human and carrying it on their head. You know, their lifespans are very short. They live, you know, a life of indignity, of exclusion. So that this is a caste system that I think hinders India's progress. It is not only economic progress. Progress should mean that the last person in India should live well, should have the equal rights as the most powerful person in India. That is when we will say India is a developed country, that it's a beautiful country.
And it's not few people, it's a vast majority people.
Exactly.
You know?
There is still discrimination based on caste,
certain
on religion.
Yeah, they
Absolutely.
have certain persons in total population of India.
Yes.
It's not about 20,000 people.
No,
It's
no.
thousands or maybe in lakhs.
Yes, in lakhs,
Yeah.
in lakhs of people. So those are the things where we have to work, you know, to remove these kind of discriminations, to make it, you know, equally accessible, education, opportunities, you know, healthcare, justice, all these things have to be equally accessible to all citizens of India. Regarding, doesn't matter whether you are in a village or you are in a city or in a slum, whether you are white, black, brown, which region, these things should be equal in India. And that is what, you know, so many people who have you know, sacrificed their lives for the independence of India from the British rule had dreamt of, thought of a beautiful India. So that is how we work. You know, we have to work with all communities, all sections of people in India, specifically who are underprivileged by whatever means, and look at India through their eyes. You know, there is a lot more to India when we sit in a village, when we try to understand the perspective of the farmer, the woman, the Adivasi, the Dalit. How does India look like? And once all of India looks good from all of their perspectives, that is when we can say that we are a developed country.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just quick question, because we are sitting right here and we are talking about such things in India is happening right now. So can you elaborate what is the Dalit, the terms, and what is the meaning of, very specific in so people can know what is the Dalit, because we are using this word so many times.
Absolutely. So Dalit means basically the caste system that in Hindu caste system that was there in India. There were a large number of people who are outside the caste system, and they were the lowest strata in the social hierarchy, people who are outside the caste system. So it is from and they obviously, you can understand, faced a lot of oppression and repression throughout centuries, and these are the people who came together, and their movements came together and called themselves Dalit. Dalit, the meaning of word Dalit is oppressed. So collectively it's a socio-political terminology, saying we are Dalits, that we are the oppressed people in the caste system. And one of the greatest names in the movement has been Baba Saheb Ambedkar.
Ambedkar.
So one of the greatest names in the Dalit movement has, as you all know, Baba Saheb Ambedkar, who is also one of the writers of the Constitution of India. And he is a figure around which the Dalit movements have also organized themselves and taken a lot of inspiration from. So that is what Dalit means.
So it looks like this since many years or many decades, in some elites capture the socio-economic life of India and they distribute things according to their benefit.
Right.
I think so. But so you are doing great, and let me know about how to get people
in the Boston area. First of all, we can look at the website aidboston.org, and volunteers in Boston meet every week on Sunday in MIT, and it's an open meeting. Anyone can come and join, and that would be a great thing if interested people can come and join and volunteer. And like I said, it's not a one-way process. As we engage with these issues, it transforms our lives. Right. So it is not that we are just giving, but we are also getting back a lot. So that would be a wonderful thing if people come and become volunteers, where they discuss the projects. When they go to India, they can visit the projects. We organize small events as to raise funds for the projects that we create, and then we have all these lectures and discussions and debates with grassroots people in the Boston area who are interested in developmental issues, human rights issues. So all of these are open for participation for people, and people who cannot give time can directly just donate towards the projects, and you will find all of the details on the website. And any other form of engagement is highly beneficial to the community as well as to the people in India that we work for.
Very good. So would you like to say give some names of AID group in Boston so people will connect with them? Somnath Mukherjee is here, and
Shivangi is there, Nimish is there, Kirtana, Nitin. There are several volunteers.
So because people knows the friends, and also it will be easy to connect.
And there are a lot of young volunteers also. Adrita, my daughter, is a volunteer. Veda is a volunteer. And they always have been, ever since they were born, they have been part of these events that we organize and things that we do. So it's also like a large open family for anyone to be part of.
Wonderful, wonderful. So any upcoming event is here?
Yes, next month we are having Revati, a wonderful farmer who had trained thousands of farmers across India. She's coming to Boston in September, and we'll have a dinner event around her on the 18th, and we would like the BDC team to come and interact with her, and anyone else who is interested in joining in supporting the work to come and be part of that event.
Wonderful. We will be there surely, and we're looking forward to meet and greet with Revati ji. And thank you very much for coming, and
thank you very much.
Wish you good luck for AID, and guys, don't forget to click aidboston.org for details, and keep watching BDC. We will be back.